Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Have you ever stopped and thought, I'm not the person I used to be? Not because you've lost yourself, but because life has changed you. That's what we will be discussing today on A Woman's Prerogative. A simple question that may not have a simple answer. I'm Amanda Holmstrom, and joining me today is my very talented co-host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck.
Thank you. What a beautiful opening. I'm really excited to explore this topic with you.
I am really looking forward to discussing this with you. And I love the topic. Who am I now?
It's so deep in a lot of ways because it seems like it's a simple answer, but it's really not. And by the way, who am I this minute? Who was I and who am I becoming? They're obviously different questions.
Oh, they are. And Dr. Jacalyn, when you hear the question, who am I now? What is the first thing that comes to mind?
I'm a much more confident woman. That's what comes to mind right away. How about you?
That is a great answer.
Thank you.
I will admit, you know what? I've given this some thought. This was our topic, and my initial thought is always, I'm definitely not who I thought I would be at this point. And I think I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. I know I've had this conversation with some people in the past, and they very much have a very differing view sometimes on whether our experiences shape us or if we're actually born being the way we're going to be when we grow up. And it's a very interesting thought pattern. I personally think our experiences help create who we are. What do you think?
I think we could get people on either side of that conversation because many people do believe everything is predetermined and we're just playing a role and our soul is on a journey. And then other people believe that what happens to us is based on the choices that we make. And so I am sort of in the middle, but leaning more towards the fact that our choices actually determine what happens to us, because every day we get to make a choice, and that choice has a whole bunch of tree limbs, almost like a flow chart. Do this, get that, this will happen. What do you think?
I have to just tell you that I absolutely love the way you just described that. It was beautiful. And your tree imagery actually made me think one of the images that I love, and I have it all over my house, is the tree of life with its deep roots and the branches going all over the place. And I have to agree with you, is I don't think we're born being who we are. If that was the case, I definitely would not be where I am today. But I think all our experiences, the people we meet, the places we live, the work we do, all adds up to shape us. And at any moment, that can change. You could have this one moment that will completely change who you are. And it doesn't always have to be a big thing. It can be a very small thing. It could be a change in career, or that's not always a small thing. Or as an educator, that could be that I'm suddenly working with a new grade the next year. It doesn't seem like a huge thing, but it can completely change who I am in the classroom. But that also makes me think about the different roles that we play and how much of our identity comes from our different roles. Broadcaster, mom, wife, girlfriend, friend. What do you think?
I think that each of the roles, each of the hats that we wear actually has an impact on our journey. And I think it enriches us. And sometimes we might feel like it depletes us, but I always feel like there's a lesson. And I know there are people in the world who really believe that they are not the master of their destiny, that other people are the puppeteers and controlling them. But I don't believe that. I mean, unless, God forbid, you're kidnapped or locked away and you don't have any ability to make a change. We all have the ability to make choices. And so normally I don't do this, but I'm going to bring up a comment because it's an interesting one from God's a Lie. Rich people determine what happens to us. Now thank you for sharing the comments. And so we practice elevated listening here, which means that we don't judge. But basically, my interpretation of what this person is saying is that people with money are going to determine what happens to the people who don't have money. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. And I really believe that we have a major role in our destiny based on our mindset. Are we practicing gratitude, affirmations? Are we seeking peace? Are we looking to help others? And also, what is it that we're passionate about? Are we passionate about judging other people? Are we passionate about putting negativity into the world? Then that's what's going to come back, in my opinion and my experience. What are your thoughts about the comment?
First off, I want to say thank you for the comment.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
I love when our viewers take part. I don't fully agree with the statement. I can understand where, yes, those who are in positions of power with money can control parts. They own a lot of the jobs and the businesses, and so I can understand that. But at the same time, they can't control me. They can't control, as you said, how we look at a situation, whether we look at it positively or negatively. They can't control whether we decide we don't like this job, I'm going to go get a new one, or I'm going to go back to school because I want to do something else. I do believe people only have as much control over you as you allow them to. And this comes down to comments that people might make. I know I've had this conversation recently that if you're in front of people, right? We're broadcasters, so we're in the public eye, which means people have the ability to make comments, whatever comments they may like. How I react to those comments is completely on me. Nobody else can control that. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Jacalyn?
I know people who are billionaires and they're not controlling me. Yeah. They're living their lives, they're making their choices, they're doing the things they're doing. Now, people could say, oh, people who are running major corporations or people who are running countries, that they have this power. Of course they have the power, but we have the power of how we're going to deal with whatever it is that has been determined, rules, policies, etc., how we're going to show up and how we're going to deal with that. So I really believe that we have the ability to proactively make choices to determine where we are in our journey. That doesn't mean we can always determine the outcome, but if we're working towards something, if that's what we're passionate about and that's where we're putting our energy, I believe we're going to accomplish it.
I agree 100%. And that goes back to last week's episode of that trying or not trying, and how there is no such thing. You're either doing it, you're either putting your efforts towards being better, looking at something with gratitude instead of, oh, I wish I had that. I don't have that because somebody else is to blame. Or just not doing it. And I do very much agree that it depends on how you go at it, how you approach a situation that will decide who you're going to be. But I still think that'll change depending on the role you're in. Because you're going to put a different you forward for the different roles, even if you don't mean to. I am a very different person when I'm in a classroom because I'm dealing with younger children. Whether I'm in a substitute role or a teacher role or assistant role will all depend how I approach that situation. But and that's the catch. That's what I do. It's not who I am. And very often those two get confused. So yes, I'm different in each role, but it just does not change who I am.
That's right, because we're multi-dimensional people. So we're capable of wearing many hats and filling in many roles, meaning that we have to make choices in all of those. But when we look at who are we now, and even if we started with who are we, typically we start with what we do. I do this, I do that, or we give adjectives. I like to this, I am happy when I'm doing that. So is that really the answer to who we are? It is a very deep question that I think takes a lot of thought. And there's actually a movie, and I saw just clips from it recently, and I think it was called Anger Management with Jack Nicholson and with Adam, what is his name?
Adam Sandler.
Thank you, Adam Sandler. And in there, Jack, I guess, is running this anger management group and asks Adam's character, who are you? And he answers with, typically what we would say. I'm a broadcaster, I'm a business owner, I'm a fitness fanatic. But is that who we are? And so in this clip, Jack's like, no, that's what you do. Well, I like to do this. And no, that's what you like. They're your hobbies. So where do we actually start with, who am I? Who are you?
And that's a great, and you have to catch yourself, just like I did, where I was going, oh, no, that's what I do. Because you're right. It's such an easy trap in a way to get caught in, because, who are you? Oh, I'm this, I'm a mom, but who are you? And I have to wonder sometimes if who we are is defined by our past as well, which I do believe, because you're a product of your experiences and the people who come into it. But are we able to actually lose some of those labels as we grow, as we expand? Or do those labels, do they follow you through life and they stay? I grew up in a lower income home, and there were a lot of labels put on us. I would hope none of those labels would follow me through life, because I'm not that little girl anymore. But it's a strong question, and I don't know if there's an answer for that, because it would be up to everyone to decide themselves. Is that label still who you are?
I feel that when we ask the question, who am I? The immediate response is, I am. That's what it would make sense. I am. But what comes after I am? And then if we look at who I was, I'm not that person anymore. And sometimes we are defined by terminology, by situations that we didn't ask to be part of, that people label us. When I was growing up, people called me a dumb blonde. And I'm very intelligent. I'm not just saying that, but I'm not a dumb blonde. I have blonde hair, but people thought, hey, that's funny. That's really humorous. And I remember in my corporate career, as a grown, mature woman, we were playing something called Two Truths and a Dare. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, yes.
Well, I had to give two truths, and one of them was a lie. So the truth was, one of them was that I was a member of the National Honor Society and I was captain of the tennis team. And the lie was I was a cheerleader. So the person picked the lie was that I was a member of the National Honor Society. And the guy said, that's clearly a lie. But I could see you as the cheerleader and I could see you as captain of the tennis team. And I thought to myself, isn't that interesting that as a grown woman, I'm still getting basically the busty blonde, athlete instead of the intelligent woman? And so you have to, I believe, we have to make a commitment to honor ourselves and just say, that's not who I am. That's a label you gave me, by the way, and I didn't ask for it. You just put it out there. So I think in order to determine who we are now, we have to accept who we were, the good and the bad, but also reject what was put upon us that is not actually and was not actually correct.
Absolutely. We have to outgrow other people's expectations, their labels. If you carry them through life, it's almost like having something stunting your growth. You're not going to be able to grow into who you're supposed to be because you're always going to be believing that you're what somebody else has labeled you. And that's not easy.
Some people are dealing with that right now. Some people deal with that their entire lives. Well, my parents told me I was this, or I was bullied and I still believe this. And so our self-esteem becomes severely impacted. And it's almost like we're shrinking. It's almost like we don't even stand up straight because we've been beaten down so much. And so when we ask the question, who are you now? That I feel requires a lot of looking in the mirror and saying, these labels are just that, and I need to let go of them because we have to get rid of, it's like peeling back the onion. You've got to get rid of all of these labels that don't serve us. What did I learn from the experience? That is part of who I am on this journey.
No, and I love the onion one. One of my favorite movies is Shrek, the very first Shrek movie, where he's explaining that he's like an onion, or Donkey is talking about being an onion and the different layers and how as you peel away, there's still more layers and you're multifaceted. You're not just one thing. Nobody is. We all have multiple layers and it's scary. I'll admit, it's scary to look in the mirror and go, who am I? Do I like who I am? Would I change anything? Or am I happy and I don't want to change a thing and I'm going to be the same person for the next 20 years, if possible? And it's not an easy thing to look at. There's nothing simple about that. And I'll be the first to admit that sometimes I look in that mirror and I'm like, what have I done? What have I actually accomplished? And sometimes it's that little voice in your head of somebody else going, oh, well, you really haven't accomplished much. And I would just give up now because you're not going to accomplish anything. You're not smart enough. People say all kinds of things. And unfortunately, it's the negative labels that often stick, that they are the hardest to get rid of. And you have to make that concentrated effort to go, no, I am worthwhile. I am smart. Go away. And that's not easy to do for a lot of people. And they get stuck in a rut where that's what they hear. And when they look in the mirror, that's what they see. But sometimes it only takes that one moment to give you that belief that I am worth it. And that can be a game changer. That one moment can change everything. And it's different for everyone. That moment will always be different because it'll be geared to the individual and nobody is ever the same.
One thing that stands out for me is the word evolving. Who am I? I'm evolving. So I'm not stagnant. I'm not set in the past, and I'm not so focused on the future, but I'm evolving in this moment.
Yes. Can you think of one moment in your life that, and it can be gradual, it doesn't have to be gradual, it could be a bang. Can you think of something in your life that changed who you were?
Yes, it comes up right away. I was working in corporate, and I had spent 6 years getting my doctorate, which I was doing outside of work, obviously. And I remember when I graduated, it was the greatest day in my life when I walked across the stage, and they call it you're being hooded when you get your doctorate. And I came back to work, and I was Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and no one in the office would call me by that name. No one called me Dr. Kerbeck, Dr. Jacalyn. And so I spoke to somebody in a position of authority there, and the person said to me, either you are a salesperson or you're an academic. You're not both. So we hired you as a salesperson, so you're Jacalyn Kerbeck. And I will never forget that. And fast forward, when I started having a radio show out of New York and then a TV show, I trademarked the name Dr. Jacalyn. And you can see my Dr. Jacalyn around my neck. And that was the moment in my life when I thought to myself, no one can take away my accomplishment of the doctorate and the fact that it wasn't fitting in corporate, and I retired in 2020, and now I've made a business out of something that was so important to me that meant nothing to the people that I worked with.
Oh, that's brilliant. I can't think, I don't think I could think of you as anything but Dr. Jacalyn. That's, we're going to take a really short break. There's still a lot to discuss, and I can't wait to continue. And when we return, we're going to discuss how the people we meet or the world around us help shape our identity. So we'll see you in a little bit, and we'll continue discussing what am I now?
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Welcome back. We are discussing the question of who am I now? I'm going to bring back my co-host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we are going to explore how the people and the world around us help shape who we become.
I'm so glad to be back from the break, and congratulations to Red O'Loughlin on his new book, Aging Sucks.
Brilliant book. Absolutely fantastic for him. I'm so happy for him. I'm looking forward to continuing our discussion on Who Am I Now? And during our previous discussion before the break, something that kept popping into my mind while we were discussing the events that can shape us, or the fact that we're all onions with multiple peels, was that in a lot of those circumstances, there are people involved, or there are things in our world that help shape who we are. And I wanted to discuss, you were telling the story about your coworkers, and one of the things that shaped that when you got your doctorate and you were Dr. Jacalyn, and nobody would acknowledge that because that wasn't the role you were in at the time. But it was enough of a catalyst to make you go, this isn't what I want anymore. I am Dr. Jacalyn.
That's right.
So people having a role. And for many of us, those people can be your parents or your grandparents, teachers. And I thought we could discuss that a little bit. I know for myself, my grandparents played a humongous role in who I am today. And I have to thank them for a lot of the values that I hold dear and that I've passed on to my children. And they had a large part in making me who I am, not what I am, but who I am and how I value how we treat people. Because that was a lesson my grandmother always drilled into myself and my siblings, was we are we are. I can't remember exactly how she phrased it, and I wish I could, but we are who we are when we treat somebody a certain way. So if we are going to treat people as if they don't really matter, that reflects who we are. And I know this is a discussion that we've had before, is the importance of treating people nicely. And in my job, that is one of the first things I teach, is that our job is to treat people in a way to go, what can I do for you? How can I make things better for you? And that has evolved as more people come into your life and affect things. But it's a matter of being able to acknowledge that the person I am is thanks to these other people. When you started on your journey, Dr. Jacalyn, to become the listening mentor and develop your elevated listening courses, was there any one person that stood out as your biggest support, or kind of led you towards doing that?
It's actually interesting because there is someone who led me to do that, and that person is not in my life anymore. It's people come in and out of our lives, I believe, for a reason, for a season. But this person said to me, you are such an excellent listener, and most people don't listen. And so throughout my life, people have told me things that they wouldn't have told or didn't tell other people. And so I would always put it, I call it in a lockbox, and I just keep it locked up. And it's still, I have all these secrets and information that people have given me over the years. But that's how it really started, was someone saw that in me and said, this is really it's who you are. You are the listening mentor. So I went ahead and trademarked that also.
And it's a brilliant program. And I love speaking with you because you listen so well. But it's amazing how that one person can make such a difference on who we become. And it can be anyone. I remember a few years back, I was just taking a walk. We were visiting home, and I had somebody who was struggling to get across. It was an older woman who was struggling to get across the street. And I just stopped and I went, "Do you need a hand?" "Oh, no, I don't. I'm going this way. I'd love the company." So I ended up taking her across, and we walked for a little bit. And she was telling me all these little stories as we were going to her destination. And we got there and she was like, "I'm so sorry for pulling you out." And I went, "No, I was just out for a walk anyway." Looking at the time going, "Ooh, I'm a little late to what I was supposed to be." But she made the comment going, "Thank you so much for helping and for listening." And she made a couple other comments, but I just went, I like that. And I want to continue being that person. And it wasn't a big moment. I've never seen her again. I truly hope she's well. But I liked how I felt. And that was a moment to go, yeah, I'm going to continue doing this. And it was a big moment. It wasn't a big thing, but it was a big moment in my life. And it just made me think about the influence that we have to share who we are and help affect other people's lives. But I also find it's not just people. My family loves our movies, our TV series. We're avid book readers. And I do find that some of the characters, some of the stories have had a very profound effect on who I've become. Have you ever found that?
I think we're really a product of our environment. So what we read, what we watch, who we associate with, absolutely.
I remember I was about 12 years old and we had just moved to a new city. And I took a book I took 3 books. It was a series out of the school library that I had never read before. And it was all about a girl who wanted to be a knight, but was being told she couldn't because she was female. And I remember reading this series and the effect that it had on me. And I will completely admit, I still have the series, not the one I borrowed from the library. I've had my own since then. And I still reread this book because I love the strong character, and it made me want to be stronger. And it actually helped me overcome some of the hurdles or some of those walls that you come up against that you're going, oh, I just don't know if I can do this, right? It's that whole trying thing. But this character actually gave the strength to overcome some of those hurdles and helped me become who I am today. And that's something we all have to realize is we are influenced more than we realize by some of the things we see and we read, or that just go through our life just briefly. They all have such a profound effect. And it's a question we come up against a lot these days, is that can entertainment shape our values, or does it just reflect what we already stand for? Not an easy question. There's a lot of divided views on that. Do you think that entertainment today is based on our values, or does it help build them?
I would say this. I know for myself, I was never a big Instagram person, but I am on Instagram and I have learned quite a bit about things I had no idea about. Even people in the United States who are A-list celebrities, entertainers, you get to see a different side of people since the pandemic, and really everyone is now approachable. It started back with the Clubhouse audio app where you might be in an audio only room with sitting next to, could be whomever, king, queen, doesn't matter. And we ended up being privy to contacting people that we never could otherwise. So on Instagram specifically, there's a lot of things that I am able to learn that I otherwise wouldn't know anything about. That doesn't mean that I take it in or that I am changing what I believe, but I shared this before about ignorance. And it's something that Grant Cardone shared. I don't have the quote right here, but ignorance, it's basically rejecting things before you actually do any research. So when people put judgmental comments, it's coming from a place of fear because all they know is what they believe. And to open your mind and be curious about other things, that takes strength and it takes courage. And so to me, I feel like entertainment enables us to expand our minds, whether it's for the good or not. But we, again, I come back to the fact we have the ultimate ability to make a choice about what we'll allow in, what we'll incorporate, and what we'll just say, I'm glad that I learned that. Next.
I love that. And I can't agree more. I want to thank you, Dr. Jacalyn, for our fantastic conversation today. I love our conversations. Is there a way that the audience, our viewers, can get a hold of you? And who would you like to hear from?
Thank you so much. Yes. So as the president and founder of USA Global TV and Radio, I'm always interested in hearing from people who might want to have their own TV show. So my contact details are here in the notes. And if you're interested in being a guest on any of our television shows, you can go to our website, which is usaglobaltv.com. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Today we explored the question, who am I now? And we discussed what seemed to be a very simple question, but it turned out to not have a very simple answer. Who we are is shaped by the people we've known, the experiences we have, and sometimes by a single moment. Perhaps the answer of who am I now isn't something we discover just once. Maybe it's meant to be an evolving question, and that we're meant to keep asking it as we grow. Thank you for watching A Woman's Prerogative. Please subscribe to our 2 YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Radio, and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I'm Amanda Holmstrom. I'm the founder of Silver Rose & Co. I work with schools around the world to work with the students to create healthy habits, social confidence, introduce life skills, public speaking, etiquette and manners, and to help students build confidence both inside and outside the classroom. To learn more, please visit my website at silverroseco.ca. You can also find Silver Rose & Co. on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm under Amanda Holmstrom. HOLMSTROM. And I look forward to talking to you next week on A Woman's Prerogative. Bye.
Every great story begins with a vision. At USA Global TV and Radio for years, we've been providing world-class education, entertainment, inspiration, imagination, connections, and hope. Most people don't stay to watch the outro or the credits, but it's the people behind every success, behind every breakthrough, and behind every unforgettable story who matter. The TV show hosts, our guests, our sponsors, our publicists, our production team, our distribution team, our search engine optimization team, and so many more. You're the ones who make the difference. Every great story belongs to the people who bring it to life. Our future looks bright at USA Global TV and Radio, and that's because of you, our loyal fan base all around the world in more than 60 countries. Together, we're making a difference because you matter. USA Global TV and Radio, live streaming to over 60 countries. Voiceover, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Video production and direction, Paul Garcia. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.